Erev Tov, good evening. We are learning the Zera Shimshon. Short piece in the Zera Shimshon this week, B'ezrat Hashem, Parashat Pinchas. We're going to do Drush Gimel. Before we do that, our good friend Abraham Kakuriev, who runs the YouTube channel, informed me that there's some people who are interested in purchasing the Sefer, the new book that we were zocheh to put out recently. So I just want to address that quickly for those who are interested, so they can get themselves a copy. There's two versions. The content, the words are the same. The only difference is the binding and the design and the beauty of it. There's one on Amazon if you want to purchase it. That's the paperback version. There's also a hardcover version, but I saw the samples. They're not as good quality as the other version that I'm going to talk about. They're just not as good quality, and also very expensive because Amazon is just expensive. If you want to get that one, however, if you're somewhere far from this area, you want to just order it online just to have it, you can do that. Just search the name of the book, Courtyard of Yosef, or search my name, Yosef Zayrov, on Amazon. It should pop up. Or you can type in English Chatzar Yosef. That's the transliteration. Chatzar Yosef, Chatzar Yosef. You should find it there. If you want the nicer, upgraded, beautiful version, however, I have it right here. We spent a lot of time and effort designing. There's a very special graphic design that we did. It's beautiful. It's printed with special plating and painting, and the inside is just much nicer. I have these personally on me. If you're in the area, just contact me and I can get you a copy. If you're not in the area, if you're somewhere far away from us, thank you for listening to us, first of all. Second of all, you can email me and I'll be glad to ship you a copy. And my email is my first name and my last name @gmail.com. It's YOSEFZAYROV @gmail.com. Contact me with the subject, book order, or just I'm interested in your book, and I will gladly send you a copy. It's much nicer, in my personal opinion. If you want to get one, you should get this one. But of course, if you want to go through Amazon, by all means. That's basically that. Very unique book, like we said. It's a very unique formatted book that's really hasn't been done this way ever. The type of study that we do there and the subject that we study there is really unique and a lot of deep insights. That's the side point. Now, the Zera Shimshon, Parashat Pinchas, Drush Gimel, says the following. Rosh Umot. There is a pasuk in the beginning of the parasha. First, let's get a background of the story. Pinchas was the grandson of Aaron Kohen. He had the midah, the attribute of being kanai, which means zealous in a good way, which means he had the passion to fulfill God's will. And what happened was Zimri, who was one of the heads of the tribes of Shimon, he took this girl whose name was Cosbi. She was the daughter of a Midianite king, so she was a Midianite princess. He brings her over to Moshe, famously, Rashi brings it down over there from the Midrash, and he asked Moshe, can I have her? Is she kosher for me? Can I have her? And Moshe and Aaron fell on their faces. They were just taken aback. Of course, before that, he answered them. Moshe answered them, of course not, you cannot. She's not Jewish. And Zimri said, hold on a second, who let you have Tzipporah? Which was really a loaded question, because when Moshe married Tzipporah, it was before the Torah was given. Tzipporah obviously accepted Hashem and accepted God. She was not an idol worshiper when he married her. He converted her. So it was a whole inappropriate question. But Moshe didn't feel right to answer, didn't feel in the right position to answer Zimri. So they didn't answer him. Some versions say that Moshe forgot that halakha because of his anger in that moment. And then Pinchas, the grandson of Aaron, stood up and he said, Moshe, you taught us, didn't you teach us, Kanaim Pogimbo, that if a Jew has relations with a non-Jewish woman, an Aramean, they call him Aramit, but it means a non-Jewish woman, that a zealous person, a Kanai, has the right to punish them in the act, while they're in the act, punish them by death. And the answer is yes, that was the halakha. Moshe says, you reminded me. Since you reminded me, you have the zechut to fulfill it. And that's what Pinchas did. Pinchas snuck into the camp. There's a lot of interesting commentary from the Midrashim explaining the 10 different miracles that happened that allowed Pinchas to sneak into the camp and kill them, Zimri and Cosby, in the act, and take them out and prove that what they were doing was a violation, etc. Very interesting stuff over there. But that's what Pinchas did. He went inside, took the spear. It says took a spear. He was able to hide the spear. That was one of the miracles. It's a huge weapon, but he was able to hide it within his cloak. That's one of the miracles. He snuck inside into the tent, and he caught them in the act, and he speared them right in the place of their bodies where they were doing the act. And then he flipped them over like this and went outside to show everyone that he caught them right in the act, because that's what the halakha permits. It only permits them in the act, right? If he killed them after or before the act, he's a murderer. But if he killed them in the act, he fulfilled the halakha, and it was mutar, it was allowed. Not only was it allowed, God came to Moshe at the very beginning of the Parashat and said to Moshe, what Pinchas did was excellent. Excellent. And because of that, I'm giving him my brit shalom, my endless covenant of peace. What that means is many different things. Pinchas means shalom means from the word shalem, complete, peaceful, and endless. It means he had eternity. Pinchas eventually became Liyahu Nabi. He never died. He's one of the few people who became angelic, and he still plays the role in Am Yisrael till today. Right? His soul is present at every Pesach Seder at the very end. We have that tradition. Every Brit Milah we designate a chair for his essence to come. So he became a very, very important person, of course, and also he became a Kohen. Up to that point, the only Kohanim that God guaranteed would be Kohanim were Aharon and his sons and their descendants. So that was Aharon, Elazar, Nitamar, the two sons that remained after Nadav and Avihu passed away, and their descendants. One of their descendants was Pinchas. Pinchas is the son of Elazar. So he's the grandson of Aaron. So he was alive, but he was already alive. And the wording of the priesthood, when God gave it, was Aharon and his sons. It means his direct sons, Elazar and Itamar, and their descendants, which seems to include Pinchas. It means their descendants afterwards. Their descendants from that point on. Pinchas was already born. So that means maybe he wasn't included in that. So then after this situation, God says, no, I'm making him now a Kohen as well, and him and all his descendants will be Kohanim as well. So that was another upgrade that he got for that amazing mitzvah. And one of the miracles that happened, I'll just mention them now, was that since he became a Kohen, at that moment, he would not be allowed to expose himself to the tum'ah of a dead body that's not one of his seven relatives. Zimri and Cosby were not one of the 7 relatives. And of course he went in and he stabbed them with the spear, and the miracle was that no blood from them dripped on him, so he didn't get any tum'ah. There was no blood. And secondly, one of the most interesting miracles there was that he caught them, of course, right in the spot of their bodies when they were doing the sin, which is their waist area, which was needed in order to prove that he caught them in the act. And also, when he came out, the male, meaning Zimri, was on top, which was not the way it was. Again, it's hard to explain. He had to prove that Zimri wasn't forced upon, right? And Zimri, when he came in, he speared them from the back, and then if you flip it, that means he's on the bottom. Zimri would be on the bottom. So if he came out, it wouldn't look like he did like Zimri violated, because he would be on the bottom of the spear, because he flipped it around. So therefore what he did was, what the miracle was, that on the spear they flipped. Zimri appeared to be on top, on the spear, after he flipped it, to prove that he wasn't forced upon, that he was because he's the male, he was the active part of the violation. So it's a very interesting thing over there. Okay. Now the Torah gave us then in the beginning, gives us the identification of those two people. I just told you who they are, Zimri and Cosbi Batsur. Cosbi was the Midianite princess. Look what it says in the Torah about her and her family. Chapter 25, verse 15 says the following. B'Shem Isha HaMuka, the name of the woman who was stricken, Hamidanit, who is from the Midianite woman, Cosbi Batsur, Cosbi the daughter of Tsur. And who is Tsur, says the Torah? Rosh Umot Bet Av B'Midyanhu. He is the head of the nations, head of the peoples of a father's house in Midian. He was a head of peoples of a father's house in Midian. Put simply, he was one of the kings of Midian, one of the main leaders of Midian. How many were there actually? The Torah later on in a future parasha is going to explain how the Jews, after God's command, went and had war with the Midianim, and they slaughtered them as a revenge for God. And amongst over there, the Torah lists the kings of Midian whom they slaughtered. It says over there in chapter 31, verse 8. It says, Et Evi, Vet Rekem, Vet Tzur, etc. Let me bring the actual verse, 31:8. Here we go, 31:8. ויצבאו על מדיין כאשר ציווה השם את משה והרגו כל זכר ואת מלכי מדיין. They killed the kings of Midian, הרגו על חלליהם, amongst their dead ones, את אבי ואת רקם ואת צור ואת חור ואת רבע, חמשת מלכי מדיין. Those are the 5 names of the kings, 5 kings of Midian. Who are they again? Evi, Rekem, Tzur, Hur, and Reva. Tzur is mentioned third. Tzur is the father of Kozbi, who was making the sin with Zimri. So now the question becomes, why was Tzur counted third in that list? Really, Tzur was the head of them, meaning amongst all the 5 of them, Tzur was the most important one. Tzur was the king of kings in in Midian. If that's the case, why was he listed third? It seems inappropriate. Says Rashi on the spot. What does it say? Echad mechamishet melchei Midian, et Evi v'et Rekem v'et Tzur gomer, v'hu haya chashuv mikulam. Tzur was the most important of all of them. Shneimar, as it says, Rosh umot. This is over here. He was the head of the peoples. Rosh means head of heads. But why was he listed third then? Why was he downgraded? Since he treated himself debasedly, fancy word for disgracefully, le'afkir bito, to let his daughter loose into this promiscuous act of harlotry, that's why he was counted third. Because of this act that he let his daughter out, that they hated the Jews so much that the kings even let their daughters out to go entice the Jews and be part of that licentious sin. For him doing that, he was downgraded to be listed third. Says Zera Shimshon, Kasher, this is difficult. If in truth, hu Rosh al Kulam, if he really was the king of kings in Midian, why do I care if the pasuk listed him third? What damage did the Torah do to him by listing him third? In actuality, in his life, he was the king of kings, and he was treated like the king of kings, and he lived like the king of kings. He didn't actually feel any downgrade by the Torah listing him third. What's the point? It's all understandable if the Torah told us that because he let his daughter out to do this, that the Midianim themselves looked differently at him and they actually downgraded him and treated him less. Like his actual people had less confidence in him. If that's what actually happened, nicha, then it all makes sense, fine. But now, that he remained in his high position until he died. In Midian, what exactly is the downgrade? What exactly did he feel? What's the point of telling us that he downgraded if in actuality there was no feel of that downgrade? Adrabah, on the contrary, in ha'emet, it's not true, meaning the fact that you counted him third, the fact that the Torah counted him third seems a little bit off base. In ha'emet ken, because it's not really true, because he wasn't really treated like the third, he was still treated like the first. So what's the point of the Torah listing him third? You can answer, says Zera Shimshon. He says there's 3 main reasons why a person would become a king. Why would he be appointed a king? Reason number 1 is because he comes from a family of kings. He has a dynastic lineage, right? So it's a purely genealogic reason, a good lineage. That's the reason number 1. Or maybe reason number 2, he has great wisdom, amazing wisdom that he's appropriate to be a leader. He's appropriate to learn from and to lead a bunch of people because he's that wise. That's two. Or maybe because of his great wealth, monetary wealth, right? Everyone respects that. Just like it says by Achashverosh, the king of Persia, in the Purim story. It says over there in Masechet Megillah 11a, ומי שנעשה ראש בשביל הממון ולא בשביל כבוד המשפחה ולא בשביל החוכמה הוא הדבר היותר גרוע מכל השלושה שאמרנו. And it says if somebody became king because of his wealth, his monetary wealth, instead of because of his lineage or because of his wisdom, the wealth is the least beneficial, least important. It's the lowest of the three reasons. It's the most how do I say it? The least important reason, right? Wisdom is something that a person himself has to acquire through his own effort and studies. Coming from a great lineage also is a great privilege. But being wealthy is not necessarily on those levels. Being wealthy, anyone can become wealthy. Even someone who's not very wise can become wealthy. And even who does not come from a great lineage can become wealthy. Wealth is something external to the person, right? Wealth is just money. It's just paper at the end of the day. Yes, it's important and it's an important part of life and we can't escape it, but at the same time, it's not the most important. It's nowhere near the most important, right? Lineage is a part of the person himself. It's ingrained in his DNA that he comes from great people. Wisdom is ingrained in his mind and his soul that he earned, that he worked hard to get. That not everyone can achieve. Not everyone has the ability to become wise. But wealth, money comes and goes. Anyone can technically become rich, right? You have all these Bitcoin millionaires. Just they press a couple of buttons on their phones. 5 years later, they're billionaires. You know what I mean? Where's the wisdom in that? So it's honorable, but not compared to the other two, the lowest one. And now from the beginning, he says. Haya Rosh Umot B'chol HaShesh Devarim. He says that Tzur, the father of Cosbi, he became king of kings in Moab. I'm sorry, I keep saying Moab. He became king of kings in Midian because he had all three of these things. He had the wealth, he had the lineage, and he had the wisdom. שיהיה לו כבוד המשפחה, כבוד החוכמה, כבוד העושר. But once he released his daughter to do such a lowly, disgraceful thing, to make her a harlot, just to bring down God's holy nation. Once he did that, he lost the honor of his family. He disgraced his family, right? The great lineage he had, he disgraced it. And he lost his wisdom because it doesn't look like a wise thing to do at all. It looks like quite the opposite kind of thing to do. So those two factors he lost. And that's why he only remained the king because of the great wealth that he still had. So that's the only reason, that's the only technical reason why he still deserved to be king. And to hint at this, that's why the Zera Shimshon says, that's why the Torah lists him as the third king amongst the five kings, to hint that he only had the lowest level, the third reason to stay king, which was the wealth. That is the piece of Zera Shimshon this week. B'ezrat Hashem, Nasib Maslech next week and onwards. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen. Amen.